they're cheating if they use these tools that all the other artists are using.
How did you just happen to create a business?
That has to be part of it, is that it sparked it as like, oh, this is something that like I can do. But part of it was just, you know, like luck.
Your art is, you're saying it's evolving. We've seen you work on specific series and stuff like that. Where do you want to take yourself? Is there like big goals that you have for yourself as an artist?
I don't know. I'm the kind of person who, if there's a goal, then there's a chance that you won't reach that goal. And
Okay,
that's,
so it's
or
like
that you will reach
flow.
that goal, and then what are you gonna do? You've reached the goal. What's next? Like, it's, I don't know. That kind of pressure doesn't work for me.
Welcome to another wasted hour of You and I, Unfiltered and Inspired, where I spend a good amount of time with a beautiful creative mind. We hope you'll have an awesome time with us. And you know, the way to support us is obviously to follow, subscribe, leave some information. If you're interested in being part of this podcast, please go ahead and leave us a message and we'll get right back to you. But for now, let's really enjoy this time with our new artist in this new episode.
Everybody, this is episode number 3. Yay! And we are today talking with Julie Rose, the very crafty and creative Julie Rose. Also backbone of this here Eastside Art House, which is basically our consortium of artists here in Riverside, California. We are really enjoying being all together, creating together, inspiring each other, and doing all sorts of stuff together, like shows and all that. Just follow the Eastside Art House and you'll see what's going on with all of us. That's where I met Julie. And Julie is a business owner, an artist, obviously, and like a jack of all artsy trades. Right? So we're going to learn a lot about what she does today and more like the backstage of things, right? Because we all look super cool and creative and productive, right? On the Instagram and all that stuff.
Yes.
I'm really
We look
interested in
that
what's
way.
going on the background. Yes.
I am too.
So can we talk about let's talk about your business, because we talked just a little bit about the artsy stuff, but how about that?
It's fun because I usually I have kind of a wall in my brain about like which side the business and like the other art that I do falls on. Like,
Okay.
I have kind of a barrier, right? 'Cause, like,
You do.
because what I do is I do face paint and balloon twisting, which is for like children's birthday parties mostly. And I really love doing that, but I also feel like, I don't know, I take my business very seriously. Like, I try and do a really good job. I have like, I have all the materials and I keep everything like so just, I don't know, like my brand, I wanted to keep it like really clean and upright, and I have like an image that I want to present, which is great. And I love it, and I think I'm successful in that. But then my other art stuff, like because it's more of a personal reflection, I usually like keep that separate a little bit. Like I have 2 separate accounts, like I don't share between the 2 usually. So it's kind of interesting to be in the same interview talking about like both of them, but they are both like such a big, no, it's good. It's a good thing because they are both such like an important part of really my life, right? Like my business, I've been doing it since 2009, and it's been my primary income the whole time, and I love it, and I want to share it with people because it's amazing. But then I do have like the other stuff that I do to explore my other interests, and I'm really proud of that. I'm really proud of like the progress that I've made in my more realistic style paintings and things like that. And
I will show you a bunch of videos and clips of Julie's art. So what's the name? It's
IE Party Makers is my face painting balloon twisting business. It's the greatest business ever. Like, it's so fun. It's the best time ever because you get to go to like people's homes and you're you're part of the family. Or I mean, I've done all kinds of stuff like business stuff and giant corporate and fairs and I've done all that stuff, but like my primary thing that I do is like family parties. So it's usually somebody's birthday, and I'm so happy to get to be there with like everybody and share this special moment and like bring memories, because it was always my favorite thing when I was a kid. Was like I would wait in line for hours to get face painting, and you know, I'm sure it was like the littlest simplest thing, but it, like I still remember like specific times that I got it done as a kid because I just love that feeling.
Is that
so
where
much.
It's coming from? Like, how did you just happen to create a business and doing that?
I mean, that has to be part of it, is that it sparked it as like, oh, this is something that like I can do. But part of it was just, like luck. Like I moved here from Wisconsin where I grew up, and I was looking everywhere for a job. I was like, in community college and like trying to figure that out and not spend all my student loans like all the time. So I was like looking for a job on Craigslist actually was how I did it. And I found this lady who already had a business doing face painting. Right. She's amazing. We're still great friends to this day, but she was basically my mentor. We kind of started and I learned from her, and like there was no like coddling at all. Like she like booked me for a gig and I was like, okay, so I'm gonna like hold your hand and like be there next to you for like weeks before I do my own. She's like, no, like you have a gig this weekend, go do it. And I did, and I couldn't believe that I took that step. Like it was so exciting for me to like show up, and I was so nervous, and I had like the address written 5 different places just in case, and like maps written to make sure
not to lose. And how about, I remember the first time I painted a kid's face, I was nervous.
Yes, I was so nervous, so nervous. Oh my gosh. And there's so much that you don't know that you don't know yet, you know, until you're like, I have years, like more than 10, 12, 15. How many years was it since 2009? I don't want to do the math.
It's a long time.
But I have this much experience now, and I know like what to expect for the most part, and like I can deal with curveballs, and I'm like totally confident. Like when I go into an event, I know I'm going to do a good job. Like,
a curveball that came to me was the temperature. The temperature makes a difference in the paint.
Yes.
Or the crayon that you are using. I was really like
the temperature
surprised by
dry, like summer. It's summer. It's like 120 degrees. Yeah. You're outside. It's just like baking, and like all your paints are just like cracked and dry, and you're like trying to make it work, and you're sweating.
Even on the pictures that are sweating, sometimes it's not sticking. I'm telling you.
It's a whole thing. But like you learn like what to bring, and I have it down. I feel very confident. And that's not to say that there's not more that I can't learn. Like I am not techniques or whatever. Exactly. I am not of the opinion that I am like the best expert or whatever. Like I still watch other people's videos all the time on YouTube. Like I'm always learning new techniques. Like and every time that I take the time to do that and make an effort to do that, like I see my skill like get better. You know? So it's a really important part of my practice. It's to like still consume other content and like do that little bit of practice. And it makes me just that much more confident every time that I'm going to be able to like deliver.
Good. Okay. So then your business is thriving, it's going, and obviously there will always be birthdays and stuff. So I'm not worried about that at all. How about, so your art is, you're saying it's evolving. We've seen you, work on specific series and stuff like that. Where do you want to take yourself? Like the whole package. Where do you, is there like big goals that you have for yourself as an artist coming up?
Again, like I feel like, I don't know. I'm the kind of person who, if there's a goal, then there's a chance that you like won't reach that goal. And that's, so or that you will reach that goal, and then what are you going to do? You've reached the goal. What's next? Like I don't know. That kind of pressure doesn't work for me. I know it works great for some people, but that kind of pressure for me puts me off, and it makes me like procrastinate, and it makes me not do it because I feel this like,
you feel the
pressure. I think it's like maybe a perfectionist thing. Maybe I've only very recently come to the realization that maybe I'm a little bit of a perfectionist with stuff, and it really stops me from like from doing things because I get so petrified that I'm gonna go to attempt to do it, and it's not gonna be like, I'm not gonna be as good as I like think that I am or able to be, and I'm just gonna like prove to myself that it's that I have a long ways to go, which I already know that, but you know, everybody has a long ways to go. Even people who've been doing it forever, they can always learn something new or try something different.
So you just flow. I
just flow. I'm for my practice right now at the moment. I have set these kind of goals. I have like had the vision, that I want to be this like gallery artist, but I know for myself, like I'm a very like in the wind kind of person. And I'm like, sometimes that's what I want, and I'll go for it, and I'll do it. Like I had a gallery show here in the art house, and it was one of the most amazing nights of my life. Like it was a dream come true. It really was. Absolutely. And I was so proud of the work that I made for that, and I wouldn't have done it otherwise. And that was fantastic. But then I'm like, once I did that, I was kind of like, okay, well, that was kind of what it tastes like to be a fine artist in a gallery kind of setting. What's next? I'm like, I didn't necessarily want to like keep pushing for that and keep like not even though the experience would be different every time that you do it. I just kind of like, I liked to experience it, and then I'm like, okay, what's the next new thing that I want to do?
In the what next box, is there anything that you actually would really like to learn or teach yourself? Something that you're excited about, and you're like, maybe there's something I could learn.
There's so many things. So music has always been one on my list, which I know it's not like the same kind of art, but I think it is very much an art.
It's art.
I have a very hard time sticking enough to like a practice schedule to make progress, but I would love to learn a musical instrument.
That's a common thread.
Yes.
That's a common thread. Sometimes I catch the common thread across all of the artists, and that's one of the like.
I think
that
it's a creative thing, you know?
Like the brain is like, let me try all that stuff.
All the things. Yes. What helps me with that is like having a shorter time frame of it. So instead of like nebulous future for the rest of my life, I'm going to practice Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. Like that doesn't work for me very well.
It doesn't,
because then I miss one day because life happens, and then I feel like I ruined the streak and now it's over. But what I do is take classes at a place like, like RCC, like our local community college. It's awesome because it's 16 weeks and you're dedicated. It's just 16 little weeks, it's not that bad. It's like a few times a week. And like psychologically, I can handle that. And I know that there's like an end point to it, but I learned so much.
But you gotta love being in school though.
Yeah, I do love being in school.
You don't
That's
love
me.
Being
I'm very much.
But I could like, it's smart because it's not expensive.
Yeah.
And you get to have a professor and you get to have a little community. And for 16 weeks, you just focus on one specific skill. How much of those skills do you think have really like helped you improve? Like 100%?
So much. Like there's definitely something to be said. So I took one of the greatest classes that I've taken there was a color theory class.
Yes.
And so things that are like basically even just the beginning drawing, which like going into, I don't know, I have this weird thing where like sometimes I'm like, I'm great. Like, I don't need this class. And then, but also I know I'm like, I need to learn so much more. Like, I'm not as good as these other people that I'm like following and stuff. So I have this weird, like, sometimes I think I'm too good and sometimes I'm like never good enough. But I learned so much just from that beginning drawing class. It like really opened my eyes. Experimental methods. So learning to like think outside the box, but using like those fundamentals. But so things like that are kind of, there's just really something to be said for taking like a class that you can learn on your own too. Like you can absolutely, watch YouTube videos and get a lot out of it, the same kind of thing, but studying those fundamentals and not just relying on like pure creative drive, but like getting some of those like fundamentals down, like it made a huge difference in my practice. Like the stuff that I was envisioning, I could actually make it look more like that.
More like what was in your head.
More like what was in my head.
This is very inspiring to me. I've been thinking about for a long time going to, for example, do like a caricature class.
Yeah.
Because I would really love to just look at somebody and be like, just like stuff like, and the color theory. I can feel it on my paintings. I was like, if I had that color theory method and the background, I would have made that color a lot faster, or I would have matched that color a lot faster.
It's huge.
It helps.
Like you can't discount like that knowledge. And the cool thing is it just kind of absorbs and becomes part of you. But it's also like you can't stop seeing it. Like once I took that color theory class, right? I see it everywhere. Like to this day, I'm like, I can't look at something without, like kind of understanding a little bit better what's going into it, or like it makes you appreciate other art so much more. Like when I'm surfing and I'm seeing other things that are inspired, I'm like, why do I like this color so much? And I'm able to kind of like pinpoint why, because it's using like these methods, that so it's really powerful.
Let's talk about unsure and steady about certain things in our practice. So why don't you share with us a little bit about what is like harder for you in your practice? And then the other part, like what gives you joy. But I think you kind of shared a little bit about what gives you joy. Yeah. What's harder in your practice?
Give me joy. There's just a lot. And a lot of it boils down to like outside pressure or worrying about, I don't know, just things outside your own control. For me, it's like, I know I could do even more. That's the thing, is I know I could do more. I could be studying every day. I could be drawing every day. Like some of the people that I follow. And that's, I think a lot of it is just being immersed like so often in people who are like more advanced in their practice, you know, seeing their finished products all the time and like using that as inspiration. Like I'm very inspired by it, but you also have to allow yourself time to take action on the inspiration. And if like it's so easy to just continuously be inspired and looking, keep
scrolling
and not but not giving yourself time to take action on that and like make something, that's always like kind of tricky to force yourself to be like bored enough to make something. So
you feel like you should do more of that? You do more scrolling than actually practicing?
Oh yeah, for sure. And that's it's not healthy in a lot of ways. Healthy. Like I want to defend it and be like, oh, but I'm kind of like, I'm studying, you know, I'm learning because I'm deconstructing kind of things that they do. But it's something that I learned also in classes, like something called brush mileage, right? So it's
terms.
Yes, it's not enough necessarily, at least not for me. It's not enough to just watch something and like break it down or like watch a video. Like you have to get the brush mileage. That was what it was for my face paint too. I like, you have to understand the feel of it because it's so tactile to like create something, right? Like there's such a feel to it. Even digital, you have the way that your brushes act and feel. Like there's absolutely no substitute, unfortunately, no substitute for the practice and the mileage that you get from like actually physically doing the actions. And that, so I mean, it's a good thing and a bad thing. Like all you got to do is like actually practice, but it's really hard sometimes
if you think about it, the artists, they are their own future. It's weird to say this, but we can't outsource our hands. And it's like you're the only person you can count on to get your art forward.
Yeah.
So if you don't give yourself the practice, I think we spend a lot more time doubting ourselves, rethinking the stuff that we have done, being unsure about what we do and stuff, than actually just shutting that, you know, that off and get to practice.
I let that win sometimes, and I'm always like disappointed. The next time that I go back to my practice, I'm like, oh, I would be further if I hadn't let that win last time, and I would have done some practice, but. You know, to each their own. Like it's all a journey. Like if you're not ready at that moment, you will be in the future.
It is a journey in movement all the time.
Yeah, but I agree. I don't think you can't outsource it. And I've fallen into the trap a million times. I've bought so many different like online class things that I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do this and like all I have to do is buy this and then I'll be good, right? But it doesn't work like that. I wish it worked like that. But you actually have to practice the things that they tell you to do, and I'm like, oh.
You do. There's no secret.
There's no secret.
Those beautiful people that we see out there on the gram, it's practice.
They put in the hours.
You know?
Every day, all day. I know. And people who aren't necessarily involved in art, I talk about this a lot. People who aren't in the art world or who are not creatives in their own work, they're like blown away at anything that an artist can do. And I've heard it a lot that like, you're so like gifted, talented, you know, kind of a thing. But for a lot of people, I mean, you might start with just the interest in it, but it comes down to like work, just like anything else, you know, like you put the same effort into that as other people do into their, you know, work skills. So people like to put artists on like a high pedestal of like, this is some like, you know, amazing star-touched person who is like, you know, and it's like this holy thing, but it's really not. And there's no shame in that as an artist if that's not you. Like, there's no shame that you have to put in the work. Like it's pride. Like you should take pride in your work that you do it, because that's just a society, you know, people who are outside of like the art world putting that on your shoulders, that you know, it has to be from within and like this innate thing to be true art, but like it's practice just like anything.
You know what that makes me think of? When we don't want to reveal some of the techniques that we have, right? People are like, oh my God, that's crazy. How did you do that? And stuff like that. And you're like, you know.
I know, but it is because it's fear that they're going to take their value away from you if you share that.
That's where I wanted to go. Like, if you reveal your techniques, your tips and tricks, then your art will be less valuable.
Yeah.
And that's
and I've
messed up.
even heard it. I've seen people like, it's a very common practice. Not all muralists do it, but a lot of muralists will use like a projector. They draw their image, they project it on the wall. It's so much faster, so much more efficient. I use it even for my fine art paintings to get my sketch and everything on there. But people, like, if you reveal that, like, probably 7 times out of 10, somebody will be like, that's cheating.
That's
like, cheating? What? No, this is how you do it. This is not cheating. This is part of the practice. Like, everyone, I don't know, people have like such an inflated idea, I think, of what like an artist is and what an artist does. And it actually affects artists because they feel like they're cheating if they use these tools that all the other artists are using. But no, like, you're not cheating. You're doing, and people who don't choose to use that, that's great. Like, that's their practice. They want to do it that way. They want to, you know, I follow some artists who do like old school charcoal, you know, transfer stuff because they like the way that feels. That's part of something that they enjoy about the practice. If you enjoy doing that, nobody's stopping you from adding it in, but it doesn't make it any like better or worse than somebody who utilizes like other technology for it or something.
Thank you
know?
for saying that.
Practice. Yeah.
And that's why we do this show. I really want people to realize it's not, we have a lot of wrong ideas about what being an artist is.
I think so. Yeah. Popular culture definitely does have.
So let me ask you this. Was there a time where you decided to call yourself an artist and you did not call yourself an artist before?
Well, for me, it was one of those situations where it was foisted upon me because from a young age, I liked to draw. So, and in my small town, small school, like, I was the artist. Like, it's not a title I chose. They put it on me because I like to do that. And, you know, I think that's partly, that's a very common thread that I've seen out there in the world is people who kind of had that, like, not gifted child, but gifted child thing, right?
The bloom child,
it's like,
that different kid that can do
who can do
stuff.
it. But it's actually, I feel like it's kind of detrimental because if that becomes like that identity is like put on you and you didn't necessarily choose it, but now you're being, I don't know, like judged for it. And you do have a natural talent for it, but natural talent only gets you so far before everyone else is going to catch up to you, you know? And they do. Like the people who had no natural talent, but practice will match the gifted child really, really fast. Like, and then what do you have as a gifted child? And you feel this like shame at having to like do the lessons and practice because I'm supposed to be good at this, you know? Like I'm already good at this. I don't need these lessons, but that really like is detrimental. So then you're just like, and trying to live up to that title that people put on you, you know, puts that perfectionist thing into people. And I think it's hard on them, you know?
Wink, wink, though. Going back to what you said in the beginning, right? Like, maybe I'm a perfectionist stuff, so that was the pressure.
And that's part of it, maybe, because you're trying to live up to that, you know, that image that people had and that came easy to you as a kid, but now that you're an adult, it's not so easy. You're competing with other people who had to work their butts off. And, like, you didn't work your butt off and, you know, like, so you're kind of falling behind. And I feel like, you know.
And you realize it's actually a job.
You have to work now. Oh, you have to put in the work.
It becomes work. So it's not a hobby, y'all. Not just a hobby. It's all of it.
It is. Yeah.
If you had to invent something in your field, for your practice, what would it be?
I had to invent something.
What would be one tool that would make things easier for you, maybe?
I don't know. I don't know about inventing something. And it wouldn't be like an organizer thing because like I actually really enjoy the organizing part. Like when it comes to booking events and stuff like that, I take a lot of pride in like getting everything organized. And I love making like my boards and stuff, my idea boards. I love doing that, but it'd be nice if I could get like a digital version because I'm constantly printing stuff and like laminating it so I can swap them. But I kind of enjoy that.
You like that? You like the craft stuff?
I don't know. I can't think of anything that I would invent that isn't already a thing. That's like if I do come up with something I'll invent it and then you know, we'll patent it together.
Let's go. I do actually because I work with epoxy. And I work on very, very large formats.
Yes.
And when I do it, you know, obviously I do it by hand right now. I just do that. Spread that epoxy and all that stuff, and it takes a while to dry.
Mm.
There are a lot of technical issues with doing that, mixing the chemicals together and putting it on the canvas. So I'm not gonna say on camera what it is because I'm working on that invention, but I have invented something that will allow to make this whole epoxy look really clean on all sides. And that will help with the mixing and all that stuff.
Yeah,
so.
I love that effect, but it seems really difficult to achieve.
Yeah, it is hard to get a really smooth surface. There's always some speck of dust somewhere. There's always like temperature changes will break the epoxy on you while it's because it has to cure for a few days and stuff like that. So temperature change, especially in California, is very hot, very cold, at night, like that changes anyway. I always ask that to my artists just to see what's on their mind. What are tools that
I'm not an inventor.
The future can bring. We've got a nice intake and a look at the back side of things and how it's going for you. So I'm happy.
I'm happy too.
I like that you are flowing with things.
Yeah, I feel like I'm in my flow state. Like I mean not flow state, but like my flow era, I guess. Yeah. I'm just trying not to like let stuff go to my head and just doing what I enjoy in the moment and trying to find the joy again in it, because I think for a while I was like really in my head about it and I couldn't make anything because I was like too in my head about it's not going to be good enough. It's not going to be good enough. So now I'm trying to find like the joy again in creating and like finding the inspiration and like making these little characters right now. That's been like really big for me. Just really inspired to make these little.
Do you have a book? Do you ever think about putting all that in a book?
I would love to do that because that's the other thing is like all my art is so different from each other. So I have like my character style art and my cartoony stuff. And I have my like realistic paintings and I have abstract paintings that I did for a while. And so like I have this huge variety. I did a mini show one time called Multitudes because I contain multitudes. It looks like a multiple different artists did this, but it was all me, because I feel like my styles are really different because like I said, I'm always being inspired by new stuff. Like I'll find a new artist that like, oh my gosh, this really speaks to me. And then I'll do like my kind of version of it almost, and I learned from that. I'm like, what technique were they using that I liked so much that I can integrate into my own thing, which.
And you know what? I think it's okay. So that's another debate that we have with different artists is that, you will be successful when you have one lane. You know what I'm saying?
I've heard that.
But why?
Yeah, what is success?
Why should we just box ourselves into one lane?
Yeah.
You look at many of the great in art history, they have era, they have seasons, they do all kinds of. You look at Picasso will do a blue series and then something completely different. Yeah. Like it's just why, So I like that you let yourself be all these different things.
Yeah, and again, it's the pressure of outside saying that like, to be an artist, you have to completely create something like brand new that's never been seen and like, live in your little studio or whatever and create these masterpieces. But like even all the artists that their names, Picasso, all of them, they were inspired by the things that were out in the world they were seeing. All these different things that you learn that you like from other people. When you combine them in a unique way, it becomes
eat them and then they come out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. So that was the last thing I wanted to talk with you about because I know that you are very, very inspired by the Japanese culture.
I like Asian culture. I've been learning Chinese language and learning cultural stuff, and there's so many great stories and stuff from Japan and China that are just like really great inspiration. I love fairy tale stuff though.
So how is that infusing into your art, do you think? That culture that you love? Because she cooks. Her favorite restaurants are Asian, so she's really like it's a lot of inspiration.
I like everything, to be fair. I love every kind of cuisine.
Clothing and stuff. Yeah.
But I don't know, there's something about, just the style of it and so much content that I like comes from there. Like being an anime nerd growing up and things like that from Japan. That really influenced my, styles that I like and things that but mostly it's just the inspiration of the content, right? So like learning about like one of the pieces that I did in my last gallery show was the whole show was inspired by the red thread of fate, which is like Chinese. So the old man on the moon like ties the red thread of fate around people who are meant to be with each other, right? And so I was like, okay, what can that whole thing started, because I read that in a book, in a fairy tale book. And so I was like, okay, what other things can we be like tied to that way in our life? And it made this whole series just from that inspiration from that culture. And there's just so much beautiful imagery, and it's just so different. I think that's what it is like just anything different is really exciting to you know, explore and like learn about and not be afraid of. I don't know.
I see it in like the choice of animals, because you do a lot of tigers and stuff like that.
Yeah,
you know,
there's just so much meaning, you know, like in each one of those culturally and all that. And I'm enjoying learning about it. You know?
You should check out all her like anime series. She has these really quirky creatures that have all these different eyes, and she's making, you know, like stickers and prints and all that. You should check that out because it's really pretty, really, really cool, and really unique. So obviously we'll share, you know, all of your information, but why don't you tell us like your website and where we can find you, where we can find your stuff?
Okay. Well, locally, my face paint balloon twisting business is IE Party Makers. So www.iepartymakers.com. You can find my Instagram as well at IE Party Makers for the face painting balloon twisting. And then for my fine art stuff that I do, my other art is at Julie Rose Artists on Instagram. Maybe I'll hold on to it a while longer.
Just hold on. Yeah. After this interview, everything's gone.
But thank you. This has been super fun. I was nervous about it. I hope I didn't like. I'm a chatterbox, so
you are. But I love it. Thank you. No, you shared a lot of cool nuggets, and again, I want people who look at you and look at what we do to find themselves and, you know, relate to your struggle of every day, your success of every day, or how it is and how it works as an artist. So thank you.
And I mean, I'm only sharing that because I saw other people who like were able to express it better than I could, and I was like, oh wow, that's really accurate.
We pay it forward.
If I can be that for somebody else, you know, if you can be that, like that's great. It's okay, and practice, and I need to practice more too.
Thank you for that. Thank you so much for sharing. And this was another perfectly wasted hour with an awesome artist. Check out, you know, our next episodes. And if you want to, you know, connect with Julie, please do so. Follow her and then let us know what you think.
So how was that? We hope you have an awesome time with us. And remember to follow, like, and subscribe, comment, leave messages. We really, really enjoy, you know, communicating with the community. So be with us, stay with us, and stay tuned for the next episode.